Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming and joining the celebration. I think I've met just about everybody in the room, but if not, I'm Bernie Patterson. I'm the Chancellor at the University of Wisconsin, Stevens Point. And we have been so looking forward to this event. We're here this afternoon to celebrate the installation of the Sentry Insurance Endowed Chair in Computational Analytics. Man, that's big deal, big deal. We're also here to celebrate our partnership, which is also a big deal. But first, to our friends at Sentry, I just want you to know, from HR to the foundation, to technology, to senior leadership, we couldn't have done this without you. You helped us dream bigger. You helped us find a path forward. You helped us understand the need that we needed to meet. So without you, we wouldn't be here today. Just know you have our most sincere gratitude. And to our provost and our deans and our faculty and staff, oh my gosh, you got this put in place in record time. Now, if you don't work at a university, you may not be familiar with the concept of time. It drives me nuts, but we move at glacier speed, and then sometimes we slow down. I'm not making this up, am I, Eric? But on this occasion, primarily because of the motivation provided by Sentry, that was a different deal. And we did get it done in what I'm sure it was record time. And so to our folks, just know again how grateful I am for your efforts on that front. This initiative began as far back as 2013 when we were having conversations with Pete and others at Sentry about what would be the most impactful initiative on this campus, and this started the conversations in that direction. And my goodness, in the short period of time it's been in place, the program has exceeded our expectations. We nearly have almost 50 majors now in there. And the quality of teaching and instruction and learning is over the top. Our faculty are doing a phenomenal job in this area, as they do in most other areas around campus as well, but this seems to be glowing. It seems to be getting attention beyond our computing departments and beyond our business school. People are noticing because of the quality of the teaching, because of the quality of the students, and because of the quality of our graduates. We have planted a seed that will grow in perpetuity. This means that the Sentry Chair in Data Analytics will have a thumbprint on the students in one of only a small handful of like programs in our region. I know we are here to talk about data analytics and this partnership, but this is where I go off script. Now, that means to our communications department, oh my God, what's he going to do now? And I see Stephanie smiling back there because she has the same job as Gary Westcott does on our campus. And so, Stephanie, just know you should be grateful that you're at Sentry working with Pete McPartland, because if you were here, I'd drive you nuts. So I want to take a couple of minutes to talk about citizenship. All right, what's the connection? Well, more specifically, corporate citizenship. Every company has a unique mission, a unique culture, a unique philosophy, and unique values. And if you work for that company, you become aware of those characteristics early, and you adopt them, or you probably don't work there very long. But if you're standing on the outside, looking in at that company, how do you know what that company represents? How do you know what that company stands for? How do you know what their values are? I think it's actually rather easy to discern that. For example, when more than 10 years, when a company provides grants and technical assistance in the form of software and hardware to K-12 schools in the area, you know something about its values. When a company and its employees contribute over $1 million annually to the United Way, you know something about its values. And just a sidebar note here, that's one of the main reasons the United Way in Portage County is the #1 United Way in Wisconsin per capita giving, and one of the top half dozen in the country. And you guys help make that happen. When a company makes a major gift to the community to help preserve and enjoy our natural resources, you know something about its values. When a company promotes cultural understanding throughout the community on an ongoing basis, you know something about its values. When a company makes its facilities available to nonprofit organizations and to schools at no cost, but I am certain at a considerable expense to the company, you know something about its values. And when a company for more than 10 years makes available to the community major creative and performing arts experiences, including world-renowned artists, at a cost of over $1 million, you know something about that company's values. And when a company is named by Forbes magazine as one of America's best employers, you know something about its values. And when a company makes the largest gift in its history to a university to support educational programming that will impact the business culture throughout our state, you know something about that company's values. And this you can underline. You also know a lot about the company's leadership. Pete McPartland is CEO and President of Sentry Insurance. That's a big job, and those are important titles. But Pete, I know you're ill today and you can't be with us, but I want you to know, Pete, that the most important title to me is to be able to call you friend. I can't express to you, Pete, and to everybody here this afternoon how important this partnership is. It has changed the face of this university forever. Forever. Now I'd like to invite to the podium Sean Nim, who is the Chief Analytics Officer for Sentry. He's going to speak for a few minutes since Pete can't be with us. So, John, where are you? There you are. Come right on up here.
Thank you, Bernie, and thanks for all those kind words about Sentry. I mean, it really makes me feel, again, proud to be part of such a great organization and appreciate the partnership with the university as well. It's my pleasure to be here today, and on behalf of everyone at Sentry, we're proud to partner with UWSP and look forward to seeing this program continue to thrive. We view this as more than just a new major and new faculty positions, but we view this as an investment in the future. Your future, our future, and the future of this region. Technology has changed industries across the world at a rapid pace. At Sentry, like many companies around the world, we have found that technology is a powerful tool to help both our customers and associates. Analytics also plays a role across much of our company to solve complex challenges and improve operational efficiencies in our company. We believe in the power of technology, but we also believe in the human element. As the world of data analytics grows, we are excited to approach this opportunity together through a program that is at the leading edge of the industry. We are hopeful that this program will encourage new opportunities for students at UW-SP and through a rigorous education, internship opportunities, and employment prospects that are now in place. And we are hopeful that we can make a difference in the lives of aspiring bright minds who will go on to accomplish great things. Many months ago, we recognized the importance that quality educators have in carrying out the lofty mission of this program and are thrilled that we can play a role in helping to make that happen. We are honored to be a part of this historic day at UW-SP. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Eric Yankee, and I'm Dean of the College of Letters and Science. And it's my honor and privilege and joy to introduce just briefly the Sentry Insurance Endowed Chair in Computational Analytics, Dr. Kurt Pflughoeft. From the beginning, the major in data analytics was intended to provide a strong professional education, one that combines technical knowledge with the development of skills like leadership, critical thinking, and effective communication. To do this, we needed to find individuals with strong academic credentials and extensive experience in industry. And Kurt does just that. Dr. Pflughoeft comes to us with 20 years in industry and an academic career with experience at UW-Milwaukee, Marquette University, and the University of Texas-El Paso. And so to keep it brief, I'm very glad to now invite Kurt to the podium, and please join me in welcoming him to the top.
Well, thank you all for the introduction. It's great that everybody can come out here and we can celebrate together. Again, I wanted to thank Sentry Insurance for sponsoring a local area data analytics program, as well as the University of Wisconsin at Stevens Point. It's really important for not only students, but also future employees. So today, I'm going to have kind of a shorter little talk. I would normally do like a TED talk, but I was told I can't really walk in front of the projector. And I'll use that clock as my guide. So once it gets to 10 after, that's basically when I'll stop. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about data analytics in general, and then more specifically about the university's program. So the first thing might seem a little bit strange, but I'm going to define what data analytics is all about. I've had the opportunity to do a fair amount of recruiting this semester and talk to parents and potential students. Usually the first response I get from them is, isn't that the same thing as a statistician? Or isn't that the same thing as an actuary? And I'm like, not quite. And so what is data analytics? Data analytics is very similar to data science. And you have to have expertise in 3 different areas: computer programming, mathematics and statistics, and then some sort of subject matter expertise. And at this university, we decided that that should be business administration. So you would take courses like accounting and finance and marketing. So if you look at that intersection, I have a young lady there who's a data analyst. I also have a unicorn. You might think that's a little bit strange. What does that mean? That means it's really hard to find these types of individuals in the marketplace. It's also kind of difficult to train people to have what? Expertise in 3 areas. That's a little bit of a challenge. Now you might say, what's the big difference between data analytics and data science? Well, a data scientist would have a little bit more training in statistics and mathematics. That's why I've got the red circle a little bit smaller here for data analytics. Now, with that being said, when you look at analytic programs, you should probably look at it as the ends of some sort of spectrum. In other words, from a data analyst all the way to the data scientist. A data analyst would be more involved on data preparation, descriptive and diagnostic types of analysis, whereas a data scientist would have more leadership, more predictive, and prescriptive types of analysis. So when the program was designed here, it's somewhere in between. In other words, our graduates would be ready for a high-level data analyst position or a junior data scientist. So both of these positions are very hot. This is a recent survey that was published in Glassdoor. Some of you might know Glassdoor, where employees put comments about their employers on their site. They also have surveys that they conduct from time to time. And this was kind of like the most satisfying or most desirable jobs. Notice number 1 is a data scientist. And rounding out the top 50 at 31, we see that we have a data analyst. These are very satisfying jobs for employees. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about is all of the application areas that data analytics could be used for. There's a lot of different industries, et cetera. I'm just going to mention a few of them. Some of these are probably familiar to you. Probably the most famous example is the Oakland A's, especially if you saw the movie Moneyball with Brad Pitt. So I don't know as much about baseball, but I guess a while back ago they weren't so good of a team. But they decided to hire a data analyst. He was able to find some unconventional baseball measures. And by using those measures, they identified undervalued players in the league. They traded for those individuals, and soon the Oakland A's became a playoff contending team. So you can see the impact of a single data analyst for that. Now you might say, what has happened since then? I don't know if the Oakland A's are still a good team. But a lot of other professional teams also hire data analysts. So again, very important. And one other thing I wanted to say about this, I was pleasantly surprised when I came to Stephen's Point that for the past 2 years they had a sports analytics conference. And Scott Tappa, where are you? He should get a lot of credit for actually doing that. That's quite phenomenal. We're going to have another conference that's coming up on October 4th. And it's going to be expanded not only from sports analytics, but also analytics in many other industries. So I'm looking forward to that. Here's another famous example with regards to the elections and the nomination for the Democratic Party. It was published in the New York Times. It identified areas where Hillary and Obama needed to get out the vote. And if you kind of look back into history, you probably know this already, that Presidents Obama and President Trump were very successful at leveraging data analytics to win the election. Again, pretty important stuff. This one is kind of a funny one. So for example, there's a lot of online retailers that create what is known as recommender systems, okay? So if you're on Amazon, it's going to recommend some products you might buy. Or if you're on something like Netflix, a movie that you might want to watch. And Target's got a long history in data analytics. It was also published in the New York Times. At one point, they were trying to identify whether a woman might be pregnant. And the reason they do that is because when you add yet another little one to your family, you're more likely to change your purchase behaviors and maybe go to a store like Target. So this was an ad that my daughter got recently. You can kind of see that it is a stroller with 6 seats. The funny thing about this is that we have twins on our side of the family. My 2 twin sons are here, and there's all sorts of twins on her in-law side of the family. So we're thinking about maybe Target knows something that we don't know.
I hope not. That's a lot of seats in there.
So you might say, what is data analytics all about? It's really about data-directed decision making. And so what? What does that help the organization? There's been a fair number of studies that show if you can get data and process it into information quickly for the decision makers, that it improves the outcomes of the decision-making process somewhere around 5 to 6%. Now, if we don't have data-directed decision-making, especially as we get into higher levels of management, you got to rely on gut instincts, right? Some people are good at gut instincts. If I look back, I'd probably say Steve Jobs was really good at that. But there's a lot of studies that show that for most of us, when we rely on gut instincts, we only get the decisions right about 50% of the time. So we want to improve that. Another way to kind of look at this is that if you are familiar with Star Trek, you know that Captain Kirk is a little bit more gut instinct type of guy, and Spock a little bit more data directed. So I'm trying to make you a little bit more like Spock. So I wanted to give you just kind of a personal example where we had data directed decision making, especially with regards to high level management. And by the way, all of these techniques that I'm showing you in terms of how to calculate importance, decision trees, all that type of stuff, those are all things that we show the students how to do. But I was in the market research industry for many years, and we had a hotel client that came to us, and they said, you know, we want to improve our customer satisfaction scores. And they said, well, when we look at customer satisfaction, we think that basically building issues like a nice room, a nice lobby, accounts for 75% of the importance. When we look at customer service, it's about 25%. And they asked me, what do you think about that? And I said, where'd you come up with those numbers? And they said, well, that's just a long-held belief in the organization. So then I said, well, that might have been true at one time, but I don't think it's true anymore. And they said, well, why is that the case? I said, well, look at the Las Vegas Strip. I said, it's hard to be the latest and greatest hotel, right? And so we know that there are some older hotels that excel at customer service. For example, Harrah's was at that time. And so I think it's more important. So to management's credit, what we did is we commissioned a study for many other brands. And long story short, we found out that customer service was about 50% important. That had a big impact on the firm. That said, let's do some of the renovations a little bit less often. Let's focus a little bit more on employee training. Now, another thing that I show the students is we want a little bit more specificity with regards to recommendations. So one of the things that we create is called a performance improvement planner. This was very popular in industry. You can see on the x-axis, it's a little bit of a lecture, that we've got performance as measured by customer satisfaction. And if you look at the y-axis, we have importance. What's interesting here is that if you look at cleanliness, that is something that's important where the company is doing well. We want to maintain that. If you look at check-in, that's something that's important, but the company is not doing so well in. And so that's what we want the company to focus in on to improve their customer satisfaction. So these are really neat charts, and managers really like those. So obviously, when I came up to Stephen's point, the program was already designed, okay? And so I kind of sat down with Eduardo and a few others, and we were thinking about how do we make some tweaks to the program to make sure that it stays relevant and up to date. So we took a look at a survey. And it was a survey in terms of what employers want from their employees, not just from data analysts, from all employees. So at number 1, you can see strong communication skills. That's not too surprising, right? If you stumble a little bit too much on communications, it's hard to be influential. So we kind of mapped mostly what courses from the major kind of go with that skill. In this case, Data Analytics 370. But remember, we're a liberal arts college, right? So there's a lot of other general education courses that can fulfill those skills. So that's kind of important. Number 2, by the way, I think you should all be a little bit surprised. So employers are kind of expecting that all of their employees kind of have better analytical and research skills. You'll see this at organizations because they have business intelligence applications like Tableau. And not so much just to view reports, but to empower them to do their own analytics. Why is this so important? Well, I'll think about when I was a young man. That was a long time ago. But I didn't really know how to do word processing, so I relied on a typist. I didn't know how to do presentations, so I did transparencies. I knew almost nothing about accounting and finance. But along came Microsoft Office, right? And all of a sudden, the productivity of the workplace increased tremendously. That is actually known as the democratization of the workplace. And the 4th major thing that you're going to start seeing at companies is the use of business intelligence to empower the employees to do their own analytics. In general, that's known as grassroots analysis. Computer skills I'll talk about. You know, number 4 and 5, those are difficult things to teach people, especially innovation and creativity. Again, we have other courses as Gen Ed that help with this. But I remember not too long ago, there was an IBM commercial. There's a big gym floor, and the employees were kind of laying on the gym floor, looked like they were sleeping, the lights were out. The manager walks into that gym, turns on the lights. What are you guys doing in here? And they said, we're ideating. But anyhow, that's kind of a joke for innovation. So at least Trent thought it was funny. But the one thing that we actually try to train the students to be good at is really problem solving. We really concentrate on general methodologies to help the students solve problems. Because if you do a data analytics job, you're invariably going to hit a few problems, right? And to get the students with that skill set to solve them is fantastic. I'm not going to go through all these other ones. There's a lot of other skills all the way from teamwork to project management, all very important. But again, we're looking at what courses in the major primarily map to those. So I have a little bit of a personal bias when it comes to a college graduate. I think that when they get their degree, they should come out with some sort of tangible skill. I think all the data analytics people would think that they would like to be in a high-end data analytics project and making recommendations to a chancellor or a provost, but that's probably not going to happen right away, right? Most data analytics projects, a majority of the work has to do with data preparation and a little bit with regards to modeling. So these are some of the various tools that we equip our students to know. You'll see R up there. I know some companies don't use R, but it's easy to transition from R to SAS. Python's a general purpose language that's also good at data analytics and data preparation. KNIME is similar to SAS Enterprise Miner. Some of you might be surprised by SQL. I don't think Jim Frank is. But you can do a lot of analytics and you can do a lot of reporting with SQL. And SQL has evolved over the years. And in fact, SQL is now used on what? Big data platforms. So it's still very relevant. Excel, not everybody may agree with me, but it never ceases to amaze me. A very powerful package. You can do optimization, you can do pivot tables, you can get add-in packages for data mining. There are some very good programs that use Excel as their major software for data analytics. Tableau I mentioned as a business intelligence package, and then Alteryx, data blending. Very important technology. We don't have it in the curriculum yet. We're trying to figure it out. It has a concept called data blending. We know that data preparation is a huge bottleneck. Usually about 80% of the work goes into data preparation. I had a sales lady once that drove me crazy when I worked in industry. I said, fine, I will try this package. I had a project that took me about 40 hours to do data preparation. I had to learn Alteryx at the same time. It took me about 8 hours. I was shocked. So data blending is not just some phrase. It actually is a very important technology. There are user groups both in the Milwaukee and Madison for both Tableau and Alteryx, so this is pretty important. The other thing that we have to do when we look at tweaking the program is make sure what are the emerging technologies. So these are some of the disruptive technologies as perceived by top executives. Notice things like artificial intelligence and machine learning. Internet of Things, I'll talk more about in a second here. Cloud computing is not so surprising. What is surprising is blockchain technology. There's not many applications for most companies when it comes to blockchains, but probably that was good advertising on a lot of companies' parts. So just like in industry, in academia, we have to be subject to incremental continuous improvement. Every year, I suspect that we are going to tweak and refine the program. And so you can see that starting in fall, we decided we've got to expand the modeling capabilities of the students, especially in the areas of machine learning. Another thing that we looked at is that we didn't have a course on big data analytics. And so starting in fall, we're going to have a course for that where you learn some of the basics of Hadoop as well as technologies like Spark. We want to continue expanding our bridges between academia and industry. This is very important. Sometimes students, they're in a class and they're thinking they're learning these technologies, and when they get out in the business world, they'll never see them again. But when we have guest speakers come in from industry, they're like a little bit shocked. Oh my gosh, they really use these technologies. Yes, that is the case. And there are many other programs that companies kind of help us with regards to projects and internships. The last point I need to talk to my boss a little bit about And what we want to do is connected systems are becoming more and more important, and especially with regards to manufacturing. So all of these different devices, sensors, et cetera, are being connected with one another. There's embedded processors. We have to figure out a way to quickly process that data so that we can make some meaningful decisions. So we're looking at maybe having a special topics course for that. Nancy, that might be a little bit of a surprise for you, but I'll let you know about that later. So, conclusion. See, I told you it wouldn't take too long. By the way, in the past 2 years, there's been a lot of emerging data analytics and data science programs, even within the UW system. So we have to figure out what is our niche, right? We can't just be some sort of general program. We have to have a niche. And so data analytics is applied by definition, but Eduardo and myself have many years of experience. And we've kind of made the decision that we're really going to be focused in on business issues like sales and marketing and customer relationship management in combination with our courses that are in the College of Business and Economics. Just to kind of give you an idea, we have a data mining class this semester. We look at solving problems like how do you predict attrition? How do you maximize loyalty? How do you increase upselling and cross-selling? Those are all problems that we were focused in on. Our dream is a center for data analytics, and maybe I should explain that a little bit. Invariably, this program is going to continue to grow. At some point, we might have to offer minors because we see other majors using data analytics quite a bit. For example, political science and biology. There is a lot of in-house expertise with regards to data analytics. If we can centralize that expertise, as well as the software, hardware, program libraries, data repositories, et cetera, I think that's a good thing, and that should really be kind of our conduit to industry. The last point, and I got to thank Dean Yankee for this, he gave us the opportunity to do a lot more marketing this semester. And you know, this program is only 2 years old, right? And so there's not a lot of people that necessarily know that Stevens Point has a pretty good data analytics program. And so we have to do a lot of advertising. You know, I didn't know much about Stevens Point, and I'll tell you the truth, not a lot about UW Stevens Point when I came here. But I have been pretty impressed. Stevens Point is kind of like a hidden gem, especially the university. And we have a pretty strong data analytics program. It's very important that we get the message out there. And so we'll continue doing these marketing efforts. Now I'm almost done. So sometimes you might think of a computer scientist or a data analytics person always hiding behind the monitor. I had some fun while I was in Stevens Point this semester. One of them was the Iola car show. It's going to be a little bit hard to see, but we got a picture with Henry Winkler, the Fonz. That was a highlight. I got a picture with little Eddie Munster. That was kind of nice. I went to the taxidermy store. They do restorations for taxidermy. They had something called a woolly rhino. I was like, I didn't even know something like that existed. And the last thing here is a picture of me dressed up as, I guess, a data wizard or whatever. Anyhow, that was part of our recruiting efforts, and so we kind of had a lot of fun with the students. But I really look forward to growing this program, and I really think it has a lot to offer, not only for the students, but for many employers in the regional area. So thank you very much.
Kurt, I particularly like the idea about the minors. I think that's very, very clever, and we need to pursue that, I think. Well, I began this afternoon by talking about our faculty and the great teaching that's going on in our classes, and particularly in this program, and now you see why. I rest my case. Students are drawn to this kind of personal interaction and this way of delivery and this way of engaging and this way of bringing students as a partner in the learning process. And that's what we do here. And that's what Kurt's doing, and that's what our other faculty are doing as well. And I am so proud of what's happening at this university. Well, now I have to apologize to you because I should have told everybody to take notes, because the university's into assessment, and so we're about ready to pass out the exams. Chris is back there waiting. No, we told Bernie we can't do that. So I guess you'll all get a pass. And if you're wondering why we're doing this at 5 o'clock on Friday afternoon, the public excuse was that had to accommodate Pete and Bernie's schedule. But the real reason is we have champagne. So I invite everybody to join me in the back of the room for a champagne toast. Okay?